Hello everyone, Forum BX257 here again with another vintage G.I. Joe toy review, and today I'll be taking an in-depth look at the 1983 Evil Mercenary, Major Bludd. Now he was first available in very early 1983 as a mail order, but by late 1983 he was available on card, rather a lot like the very first version of Cobra Commander. However, unlike Cobra Commander, the card version and the mail order version of the figure itself is exactly the same. There were never any changes. Unfortunately, Major Bludd doesn't get a lot of love either in the comic book or in the cartoon. In the comic book, he has a very interesting backstory with his experiences as a mercenary, but his character doesn't seem to be really very well developed throughout the very interesting arcs that Larry Hama wrote throughout the G.I. Joe series. As a matter of fact, he comes in very suddenly and leaves just as suddenly, without any explanation. He seems to have just disappeared from the Marvel run for a good number of years before popping up again. In the cartoon, however, he seems quite a bit more loyal to Cobra Commander. As a matter of fact, he seems more like a commander of the Cobra troops, and he seems very loyal to Cobra Commander, more so than the Baroness or Destro or even Zartan. It makes him a very almost a two-dimensional sort of villain. His looks with his unusual arm and his eye patch don't lead anything to the imagination that he could be anything other than, you know, your typical almost background villain. Now, I mentioned that Major Bludd was available first in 1983 as a mail order, but he's actually still fairly common to find bagged and sealed like this, mostly because he was available in other ways throughout a great deal of many years. First as the 1983 mail order, and then after that he was available on the card. However, he was also available in the US through J.C. Penney in a 3-pack with Destro and Cobra Commander. Now, the file card would have looked very similar to this in the US version anyway. However, it would have had a red back, and there would have been a number on the top here which would have said 6192. Mine is the original 1983 mail order from Hasbro, which has 15945.00. Later on, he would have been available in 1986 with the 10-pack of figures called the Original Team, or Operation Freedom. And even though the rest of the figures were not available, that file card would have looked exactly the same, would have had a flag point in the corner, and would have had no number at all. It also would have had a red back as well. And then, starting in 1988, that same figure from that 10-pack, even though the rest of the other figures were not issued, from about 1988 through 1994, the figures were still available through Hasbro's Direct, both in the US and Canada. Another thing to look for is in 1983, all of the 1983 issues of his file card would have had one poem, and it starts with "When You're Feeling Low and Woozy." However, after 1984, they changed the poem, so it would have started a mercenary's job is a heartless one. I'm not quite sure why they changed the poem. I don't think there's anything wrong with the first one. This, of course, is a 1984 issue from the card. Major Bludd's articulation is very interesting because he has no articulation at the elbow. It's suggested that his rocket pistol is so powerful that he needs an armored arm, I should say, to withstand the backblast. It, however, doesn't explain why he has two fingers and a thumb molded on here. His official art does in fact have 5 fingers, just like his other arm. So anybody who tends to think that this might have been a mechanical arm, well, probably the sculptor might have wanted that to be. He also comes with his rocket ammo backpack. It's actually a very accurate sculpt to what's on his actual gun here. He also has a very interesting little patch on his shoulder. I would have liked to have known what that patch was, but I can't really find anything very similar. The other thing is, I'm not quite sure if I guess these are dog tags. I'm not sure if they were ever really explained. I'm not sure if they're trophies or just an indicator of all the different armies that he eventually hooked up with to gain all of his experiences with. I would have liked to an explanation for that, seeing as they're quite prominent. Well, that's all the time I have right now. Please check out my Facebook page for more information and behind-the-scenes photos for these reviews. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for next time to see another 1980s G.I. Joe toy review. See you then.